Sweet.
All 8 million of you around the world and around the globe, we're back. Tucker and I both can't believe that we're playing this again. We thought we'd really never get to catching up, but I heard something today in an audiobook I'm listening to. Will you commit yourself to finishing what you started? And that's what we're doing. We're finishing what we started. You know that? And Tucker helped us out a lot last night because he was able to get the Stab-O-Matic to drop. And so, thanks to a YouTuber named Pugly, shout out to that guy, much bigger than I am, but he created this build, the Stab-O-Matic, which I could do a lot of improvements to, but I had just enough gear to actually put it together. We'll have a Stab-O-Matic build. I also had the blank slate on last night, so that probably explains why we didn't have very much luck. But the deal here is that I think that we now have the firepower to get through this on Chaos 35. So we'll have to go for 1, and then we'll go for 4. The thing to keep in mind here is Tucker has now played through what most people consider the best mirror thus far, which is like the Molten Forge thing. And that might actually be better. He'll get even more context for the fact that week 1, the DLC came out, and this was what was available. So I'm still excited to hear Tucker's comments on it. Tucker, say hello to the people.
Whoa.
Tucker, how do you feel that after Astroneer and Affordable Space Adventure on our first Wonderlands Let's Play that we're finally getting back around to trying to catch this Let's Play up? Let's talk a little bit about what you were discussing yesterday. Tucker and I were kind of digging into what's going on with Wonderlands, how are people feeling, where's the hype at, and the deal is people aren't just mad, people aren't just disappointed, they just don't care much anymore. The Wonderlands subreddit has very, very little action to it. A lot of posts are actually days old.
Isn't it losing more followers than Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3 is?
There's less people playing it than Borderlands 2 and 3 on Steam charts anyway. And, you know, again, we talked about this yesterday in our trying to catch up with this game. A little late in the hour, but catching up. Committed to what we started. That they advertised this as a AAA game with gearboxes and really what is now an industry standard AAA support. I would definitely say the damage is better than yesterday. And like I said, we can make a lot of improvements to this build. I'm going to turn our audio down, though, so I can hear myself think. I might go down here, Tucker. I'm adjusting audio.
Okay.
So there's really just very little action going on. And probably the biggest Borderlands content creator since Baru and Gathalion really fell off and pretty much quit on the game is now Moxie, who makes a lot of content just look easy and stuff. And the deal with that is he has 250,000 YouTube subs. Well, a lot. He's popular. He plays a lot of different looter shooters. That's his thing. I think he plays some Destiny too, but he definitely made a name for himself on BL3. I think he was like the first person to solo both operations, and he pretty much has the big popular build videos now. And he released a video saying, you know, can it be saved? And it's a very recent video, and it got less than 100,000 views. I think he got like 50,000 views, and then he made a video shortly thereafter on the QA, and it was like kind of a low effort video, but that happens with YouTubing and streaming. And 20,000 views. But it's worse than that because it's less about him, and of course the idea there is that a big YouTuber getting those kinds of views on a game means that a game is dead. People just don't care about it very much. And a lot of that's Gearbox's fault. I mean, they just do not communicate with this game well at all. They don't talk about the future at all. People get very mixed messages on where they're heading with this game. Even the devs don't even seem excited to like work on this game. I mean, that's the appearance from the outside. And that has just infinitely hurt this game. Now, it's nice right now, thanks to that Pugly's build video, I can actually kill stuff again. That was my biggest hurdle to getting back into the game, is I just felt like, man, I can't do anything because of the way they do these chaos levels and the way that they're balanced and how they haven't upped the level cap in a while. I just haven't been able to hang. That's why we were using glitches for our raids. But moving on, they did a Q&A in that video, and the devs said nothing. And there's no getting around that. I know they had a bunch of paid content creators and all the people that are on contract to make content for Borderlands, the stream team, and how that's like, you know, you're getting a stipend, so you really can't say too much, or you're risking your revenue there. But let's just admit, because I'm obviously not paid, Tucker's obviously not paid, we're small, we're independent, we can say whatever we want. The dev said nothing. And that's worse than being uncommunicative, because when you finally did communicate, we're halfway, you know, nearly half a year after this game's launch now, and will be when they finally do another Wondercast. There's been really no open communication since that moment. And in that moment, there were like 4 questions asked, and they said, well, you know, we are listening, and we'll keep listening, and then we'll go look at the data, and then we'll reflect on that, and we're listening. And then, and they didn't even really say listening that much. It was kind of like, and then that makes us think, because we're experimenting, and this game, we made this game. This game is a thing, we made this game. There's going to be things we do with this game that may or may not happen, maybe, probably not. Like, that's really the substance of the entire discussion. And then the you know, the content creators, I know it doesn't pay to be critical, be like, that's just, wow. I love that. That's excellent. Thank you for bringing that up. That's bullshit. This was a $60 game. This was on sale not a month after. I mean, there's definitely some feelings like we got burned. It's not awful by any means. We didn't get fully burned. The season pass was a burn at this point. But overall, if this is their new IP, which to me is, I'll be honest, I think it's stupid. It's Borderlands. It plays like Borderlands. It looks like Borderlands. It's in the Borderlands universe. It has Borderlands characters. It has the Borderlands art style. How do you not call this a spin-off? How do you not just say this is another part of the Borderlands series? No, it's its own franchise, and I just wonder if that's a tax write-off or something, because that just doesn't make any sense to me. Tucker, what's your opinion on it?
I don't know.
Is this its own series, or is it basically Borderlands?
It feels like it's Borderlands, except with melee weapons.
Yeah, melee weapons and spells. I mean, and that's the only real, like, fantasy element that's in this game. There's not, like, a siege on the castle, or... The problems are pretty varied for this game. The chaos levels started as this great idea in the chaos chambers, but because it doesn't have the risk reward that you expect out of a roguelike, because you come in with already your set build, it's very samey. There is not anything that varies up the content outside of the chaos chambers. Yeah, there's the raid bosses, but they're not even the best sources of loot. Everything comes down to the bunnies and the wheel. There's some neat ideas at play here that, just like Borderlands 3, just aren't completely brought to fruition. And I don't know if they ever will be, and I'm sick of saying the same old thing that everybody says in the world of video games, which is, well, there's just so much potential. There's so much potential. Yeah, sure, there's potential, but when you're playing effectively Borderlands 3 with slightly better balancing, and that balancing part is really up for grabs now because of the chaos going up to 50, and chaos 35 was already pretty imbalanced. I'm pretty sure they're going to 65. I don't think they're up in the level cap. We're lucky to have a build we can slightly play with thanks to Tucker's help yesterday. So you had 2 devs there, and they had no commitments on whether they were going to add more dedicated drops. They had no commitment on whether they were going to try to expand the end game. You know, they're ostensibly, we have a while to go until we see PLC 4. We're supposed to be the biggest and the best. It's going to be just another PLC. Come on. And the subclasses, I'm going to say this. I don't care that there's one person that's going to watch this video. Borderlands 2 had the Psycho and the Necromancer. Okay, and that was 3 full class trees, fully voiced, fully animated, unique characters with multiple builds, lots of what the hell? I got like randomly signed out. And they can hear me. They can hear me through the ether criticizing. And they were ambitious, you know, that Borderlands 2 obviously sold really well, made them a lot of money, won a bunch of awards. It makes sense that they were so ambitious, but they were ambitious and they kept that up. And even the pre-sequel, that pre-sequel for a lot of people was underwhelming, but they did in the end release what many consider the best DLC they've ever done with the Claptrastic Voyage. they released two Vault Hunters, technically Vault Hunters, I guess, with the Baroness and Jack, the clone, which is one of the best characters they made. Still, the pre-sequel had the best characters they ever made. Like, there was still that Gearbox thing of like, oh man, people have come to expect a certain product from us. I don't know if it's really pre or post Aliens Colonial Marines. I believe that's post, but still, we got to meet that commitment. And Borderlands 3, I'll admit, they did try. I mean, they definitely tried, and this has come to bite them in the butt, in the sense that the Cartels event, the zombie event, etc., were all free. They were all these free big drops. I mean, the Headhunter, the Halloween event alone was as big as the PLCs. And that was free. That was a free content drop that they later made the really smart decision of making more of a permanent fixture. So, the issue that I have with this game, in particular, is we all know these PLCs are very light on the content, even though they're asking the same price that they've asked from their past titles. And it goes one step further. They're finally going to do the Blight Caller, and that is going to bring back, for a very limited time, some hype. Now, a lot of the damage is already done, and that's what happens to these games. Fallout 76 has done a lot of stuff. No Man's Sky did a lot of stuff. Now, No Man's Sky is probably more the exception.
Because it's slowly coming back.
Yeah, it definitely made a comeback. People really did start to realize, like, oh yeah, it's a good game now. They made good. Fallout 76, it's been nearly impossible for that game to get past just how much damage was done on launch. Wonderlands didn't have that problem. Wonderlands, for a Borderlands game for Gearbox, arguably had one of the strongest, most stable launches they've ever done. They didn't go crazy like they did with 3 on the hype train. It didn't release. I mean, the multiplayer is still buggy, which blows my mind. It's about as buggy as it was on day one, but the multiplayer wasn't really an issue on day one because the shift wasn't stable.
Didn't even work, so there was no multiplayer.
That's right. That being said, the fact that there was an end game at launch that was enough to keep people busy for a minute. There was the subclass system that had like 72 different permutations you could technically play around with. People were good with the stories, main story's length. There was pretty meaty side quest content to get into. It wasn't a huge game, that it was big enough, and it was a game that personally brought me right back into an immediate playthrough. I was just telling Tucker as we started, like, my buddy Adam, who's another streamer, Youngsun, twitch.tv/Youngsun, I was watching his streams, and he put quite a bit of time into it. I think he even almost did a 24-hour stream on it. He's got like 3 days playtime. I think it's under 3 days, but close to 3. Tucker is the next on my friends list with a day and a half. I've got 13 days on this game. I've almost got 2 weeks. We'll probably be at that 2-week bar by the time Tucker and I are caught up and I've done the Melee playthrough. I enjoyed it. I really genuinely got those Borderlands 2, Borderlands 1 vibes when this game first came out. I was just so disappointed by the PLC, and I was so disappointed by the balance. I loved early in this game that you could come in and kill stuff. You could grab different guns and experiment. There was, because of the chaotic gear, volatile gear, there was this sense of soft power increase, that really the sky was the limit. You could build some insane builds. You could keep adding some damage to your character with myth rank. There was a lot of knobs that they tuned, in my opinion, correctly, and hit the mark for a Borderlands game. There was a lot of all those, oh, sorry, it's its own IP, which, again, is its own thing that I think is just ridiculous. And if this is a new IP, they should be treating it a lot better. They should be building this thing up as much as they possibly can if they want this thing to be a new IP. Of course, the future is, as an aside, all on mobile games, and once you sell these physical games like this, you know, it's kind of like you made your money in the beginning, and then you sell copies on it for 50 years and remaster it and all that, but they kind of quit because, unlike mobile games, they can't persistently make money off of this, unless they add a lot of microtransactions in and run it as software as a service, and Gearbox is trying to stay old school and not do software as a service. That being said, back to the topic at hand, this game was really fun at the beginning. Tucker enjoyed it. I mean, Tucker's not a huge Borderlands guy, but Tucker enjoyed his playthrough as far as I know. Tucker, you speak for yourself here. How did you feel about
Yeah,
it when it opened up? Tell me some.
it seemed pretty fun. It felt pretty fun. Just getting in and shooting stuff, Borderlands 3 style.
Yeah, so we were having fun last night just shooting stuff too. And Tucker like made his own unique build, so we really got into that Borderlands 3, that Borderlands content. We, took the pictures of one another and we like enjoyed our playthrough. And we just tried to keep it simple. And then I jumped in and did like more endgame stuff and then did another character to 100%. And I was taking care of, Grandma like I still am, but she had a lot more needs at the time. She has slowly but surely been getting better and better and gaining more and more independence, which is why I'm very hopeful in the not too distant future the stream can return. But that is, again, I'm a little off topic. I'm just trying to get back to it. This was the game that, I just really took my mind off things during that period. Grandma needed help going to do anything. We were waking up there was emergencies. We have a little light downstairs. She turns it on and off. She really needs help. It's an emergency. Having like angina attacks and help to the bathroom and just, I died. If you beat the area though, I'll come back, I'm pretty sure. If I don't, then that is just another reason this PLC sucks. This was the game that was like the thing I did that was my stress relief. So it was good enough, that's for sure. It was the most I've been into a Borderlands game since the Borderlands 3 Loot Midget. Oh, sorry, excuse me, Loot Tank. And then they went to Chaos 35. And that was a very difficult grind, except for the fact that there were glitches. And I'm not afraid to admit I use glitches. I'm not a fake tuber using modded gear or something, even though I'll admit too, Tucker and I were looking for some modded gear. That's how deep our frustration ran yesterday. Like, let's just get some modded gear. Which didn't happen, and that's probably for the better, because it probably would have ruined the game. But Chaos 35 was so difficult that it stopped being like it was. Oh, here's a new weapon. Here's a new purple. I'll try that out. Oh, that does pretty good damage. I'll throw that in the bank and try to make a build around it. Hey, I'm going to change up my skill tree, and I'm going to experiment with maybe going with a different subclass. I'm going to change my vestment. Oh, I got an idea. And when the chaos was capped at 20, the balance felt a lot better. And it felt like there was a good variety of builds. I was experimenting with builds. I didn't have to get on like... Of the 2 YouTubers that are still making content for it, one of which is still actually making guides. Thankfully, that Pugly's sticking with the game. Because, my God, there are so few people even remotely interested in this game anymore. Nice job, Tucker. You're doing good, buddy. That build's doing work right now.
This thing relies on the Buffmeister way too much.
Can you leave, though?
I have to kill that hammerhead, but it looks like the coiled are attacking it, so I'm just gonna wait.
Okay. So yeah, I was having so much fun with it when it was capped at 20. I was doing the weekly runs. I was looking forward to the patches. It felt like Borderlands did back in the day. I was excited to stream the game. Really hopeful. At that point, it was not a good time for streaming because Grandma needed a lot more help. We're looking like. With the way Grandma's independence is coming along, like, oh, damn, he killed the coil. With the fact she can go to the restroom and stuff by herself now. That's huge. When they went to 35, everything went out the window. It became the classic Borderlands mistake and the infinitely frustrating Borderlands loop, which is every build comes down to damage. There isn't any variety because the scaling gets to be so exponentially high and honestly just like obscene. I think at Chaos level 50 it's 18,000% more enemy health now. So it gets completely out of control. And at the same time, they were doing nerf after nerf after. That's a really cool gun you're shooting, by the way, whatever that is.
This is the I forgot the name of it, but I got it on the Wheel of Fate. You told me to use it.
Oh yeah. Are you liking it?
Yeah, I'm liking it.
It looks cool. It's like a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I get to come back in the next room. So, it became like 3 weapons and it was whatever got buffed that week. Was it the sword explosion? I think that's kind of the gun now. It was the SMGs, which probably got nerfed. They tried to make the ARs kind of a thing. There's like 2 ARs that do kind of hold their own, but you run through the ammo in no time. So it was just logging in on one day and realizing like this game has a mountain of busy work in front of it. The drop rates are basically all behind bunnies. It's all going to boil down to chaos chambers, and I just cannot hold my own anymore. And that ruined any motivation I had to play it anymore. The moment that I couldn't just log in and shoot stuff with Tucker, like Tucker's talking about, like it was fun just to get in here and shoot stuff and find some loot, maybe get a little better, maybe find a little more power. When it got to chaos, thank you, Tucker. You did a great job. Good job keeping that running.
Are you in?
Yeah, thank you. Nice job, Tucker.
Sweet.
When it came just a matter of, okay, you gotta struggle to find these 4 guns. It's the classic thing with Borderlands 2. Like, to kill Hyperius, you need the Norfleet. How do you get the Norfleet? You have to kill Hyperius. The catch-22 of Borderlands. In order to run this content, you need said gear. How do you get said gear? You have to run said content. And you need to look for highly specific drops to create this one highly specific build that requires on 4 or 5 gimmicks. And then inevitably, Gearbox is like, oh, the data shows people are using this build, therefore nerf it because we want build variety. It's not nerfing the class that you're looking for. You got to bring some other stuff up. People are using that build because when you get to the point where the enemy has 8,000% more health, and I'm down again. The damage resistance is absurdly high. That means that's the only build that does it for people anymore. Because you're seeing how often I'm getting health gated here in Chaos 35. Tucker, I mean, GG to him because he's running his own build and he's doing great. You'll see that once you get how often you're getting health gated, how tanky this stuff is just at 35. Continually playing with the balance and nerfing things and trying to make, well, we want build diversity, which in Gearbox Studios, that means nerf the thing the data says people are doing. You know, if the data says only 5% of people played the other Vault Hunters, therefore no other Vault Hunters, even though we know that's bullshit, because I heard Randy himself say at PAX that what was neat about Borderlands 2 is that they kept having peak player counts. At launch, they had a peak player count. When they launched the Dungeon Keep, this Wonderlands, basically, when they did their Tiny Tina's DLC, they had another player peak. And when they launched the Psycho, they had a player peak. So you can't tell me that... I love that they did extra subclasses, but extra Vault Hunters, which is what this game needs. And this finally ties back to the original point, outside of balance and how chaos levels aren't doing it anymore, and they kind of squandered what they had. If it ain't broke, don't fix it with chaos chambers and the chaos level. The deal is, this game needs a lot more subclasses. A lot more. Every time that's 6 skill trees that they did for Borderlands 2 with the Psycho and the Necromancer. With Borderlands 3, they added one subclass each for the 4 Vault Hunters. So that's, that's... In this game, that would be 4 subclasses. In fact, in this game, that would be 4 and 4, which is 16. 16 subclasses. This game has 7, is only going to get 1 more. So they advertised it like, oh, there's this hugely varied multi-class system, and you get to create your own Fate Maker for the first time. And it was like a really cool idea, and you get to make your own character, and that's really neat. And they tried to make the RPG a little bit deeper, even though it barely matters, with having like a background story and stuff. I'm down, Tucker.
Coming.
Some elemental pull is killing me, and I don't know what it's coming from, but it's probably some piece of gear that's attached to me. Maybe the bad egg, I don't know.
We have to run through here, Turok.
Alright. Actually, you're going to be at the boss now. And what's beautiful, Tucker, is if we kill this boss, we're good. If we can actually die and then go back in even if we wanted. But it looks like thanks to Tucker's effort here, we're finally going to get an episode done while I bitch for 25 minutes.
Away!
And then I'm going to bring up the next thing. Besides the fact that this game should have got out. If this game would have just launched a new subclass, which, oh, that's just so much work. How could it be that much more work when you were doing 2 and 3 times that work with Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 2. And you're claiming, and Borderlands the pre-sequel, and you're claiming this is a new IP, so you better be invested in, get the people invested in it. But, you know, it's failed, it's completely failed to do that. I'm changing a gun, you have to cover me.
Where are you? Oh, I see you. The sharks are attacking the coiled. Do they just naturally hate each other like that?
I'm
Or?
down again. I don't... Something is going on here where I'm like... yes, I think. I think they're trying to trap the shark. Thank you. Look at that. Like, this... Is it the bad egg and it does self-damage or what? They learned from 3, though, because remember 3 had those terrible... mayhem modifiers that all just made you weaker and made the game much harder. Down again. I thought this was the boss room. It's my fault. It is not. Up. Can't stand still for even a second because of just how much elemental pool damage is getting done to me right now.
I'm running to the last column.
All right. Well, we get to take on week 4 PLC boss. If we have to, we'll lower the chaos level because we're just going to get this done. We just need to be caught up. I've been setting this goal for weeks. More subclasses. God, what was the finishing thought on the more subclasses? It was coming up. I finally had to focus on trying to stay alive because I'm letting Tucker down here. Well, I forget. For now, it'll come back.
Anyway.
Oh, anyway. No. Probably best I don't. Nice job.
What happens now?
Now should 100% be...
We have to enter another portal.
Oh, I'm down again! This, I know for a fact, is the boss after this.
Ow, jeez. We're leaving!
Yeah, leave. Good. Jesus.
They're doing crazy amounts of damage now.
Struggle bus in here. OBS is... I'm gonna go down while I'm just standing here. You see this? Something is causing me to die.
Your fire path. One of your items is making you have a fire path.
Since when does the fire path hurt you is the thing. It's the bad egg, which is apparently pivotal to this build. Oh, I don't have the bad egg on. That's part of the problem. Don't tell me I sold it. That would be... There's the bad egg. Okay. But what else could be causing the fire path? Got the selective amnesia. After taking non-status effect damage, apply a fire status effect to the Fate Maker. Increase movement speed and leave a fire trap for 3 seconds. Well, this effect is active. Oh. It's the class mod. It's catching me on fire, which is a part of this build, so...
Yeah, I guess taking damage for yourself is part of the build.
Yeah. Okay, well, so this is the boss. This would have been week 1. When you kill this, we'll finally get Tucker's thoughts.
Boss.
This is still really low. Holy crap, Stab-O-Matic with the bad egg changed everything. Why and how? Look at that damage. That fundamentally changed this build, though it is very much so a glass cannon.
Oh, I got launched 1,000 feet in the air.
Did you get knocked off the edge?
No, I just got launched 1,000 feet into the air, though.
You also notice we have, like, basically an unlimited mag? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just keep shooting. I'm not running out of ammo. Holy crap.
Staying alive! Staying alive!
Melt, you bastard, melt.
I don't even know where the main boss is. There's just so many
Chums.
sharks.
Chum's the old god. He's the one with the giant face mask. See, they called this guy unique, but you literally fight him in Crack Mask Cove when you activate the Basilisk or whatever, which should be.
They just
more
give
of
him a
thing.
different name.
They just totally redid his asset. I mean, they put a little like life raft around his rear end and put a blue thing on his head, but it's a reskin as far as I can tell. It's a little troubling that this is actually the easiest difficulty for this DLC, and we're not just melting his ass. But hopefully we can get some better gear, and that'll help
Oh,
make this a
jeez,
little
I'm
better.
almost dead.
He's almost dead too. Just put all your. There we go. We did it. Worth 2 purples. Let's go.
Yeah.
Back in the Chaos level 20 days, I'd actually look at these purples and be like, ooh. But those days are over. Tucker's thoughts on the next episode.